As a mother of 5, Brenda Hamilton felt helpless as she watched her own mother's health slowly deteriorate over a year after being diagnosed with dementia and a move to a nursing home.
My mother was placed in a facility, and in less than a year she had passed away. I was the only family member. I was taking care of my mom on my own. I was what you would call one of those sandwich generation women. I was caring for 5 children at home. My mother lived at a distance and was diagnosed with dementia. So I had the challenge of trying to take care of her from a distance, and of course you're not always getting everything relayed accurately. You call, how are you doing? Have you eaten? Have you taken your medication? And it's always, oh yes, everything is fine, but that's not always the case. So I had my mom, I had her moved closer to me.
From her personal experience, Brenda saw a need for elder home care and teamed up with daughter Chloe to found Warm Embrace Elder Care.
Warm Embrace is a home care agency. We are located in Kitchener. We serve all of Waterloo Region, Wellington County, and we provide in-home assistance to seniors to help them remain living independently in their own homes. We assist seniors with anything that's non-medical, so we assist with light housekeeping, taking seniors to appointments. We help with personal care, bathing, dressing, food preparation, planning of menus, taking seniors shopping, cooking. Anything that they could possibly need assistance with that's non-medical, we're happy to help with.
With our population getting older, Brenda says their services will be vital in offering families more options to help keep their older members in their own homes longer.
It's very important to be able to offer options to people in the community. Our society is going to change. The senior population is just going to explode exponentially over the next 10, 15 years. There are going to be more and more seniors in the community that are needing help, and they're not all wanting to live in facilities. So having a home care agency to come in and help out with a few activities of daily living can allow a senior that independence to remain living at home, and it provides great peace of mind and support to family members.
Brenda's daughter Avery is also now a Warm Embrace team member after getting on board with the business late last year. She says often there is a decline in health once an elderly family member gets moved to a home.
Unfortunately, we always see a decline when people are moved out of their own homes. If most people of our clients have lived there for 40, 50 years, and they don't want to be anywhere else. So it's very important for them to stay where they're comfortable and not have to give away all their things because they're moving to a much smaller room when they're moving to long-term care or retirement home.
From their family's personal loss, Brenda is happy to say that they can at least help other families.
I think that having that personal experience, it allows us to be able to identify and have just great empathy and compassion for other family members that are experiencing the same things. So we know where they're at. We've been in their shoes, and we can provide a great solution for them.
In Kitchener, I'm Sarah Manette for Talk Local.
And we have Chloe Hamilton in studio with us. As you heard, she's the co-founder and operator of Warm Embrace Elder Care. Chloe, thanks for your time. Welcome.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure to have you as well. And it really is a family affair. I love this. We heard kind of the personal connection there. Was that something that really drew you to this career field, seeing your own grandmother go through something like this?
Absolutely. I've had a passion for working with seniors for as long as I can remember. My mom says she remembers me coming home from Brownies, like a Girl Guides Brownies event where we sang in a nursing home, and I absolutely loved it and came home saying, I want to adopt a grandma because my own grandmother lived at such a distance.
Yeah.
But I've always had a heart for seniors, and then seeing my own grandmother experience such a change in health, being able to provide the level of care to other family members that we would love to have had for our own mother and grandmother is a blessing.
Yeah, no, it's hard for sure, and Sarah mentioned in there kind of sometimes there can be a declining care given for seniors, right, when they are going through something like this, if they're in the system. So your role really is keep people in their homes, right, for as long as they can, provide that home care. What benefits are you seeing for people who get to stay at home and who rely on you to help them with the day-to-day things?
It's wonderful for people to stay in the place that they want to remain living. So that might be a house, it might be a condo or an apartment, it could be retirement living, but whatever someone chooses as their home location, it's important that we grant their wish to be at home, wherever that is for them. In the case of a couple, it's important to help a couple stay together. So if one person has dementia or Alzheimer's, the spouse can often be exhausted trying to keep up with the caregiving, and the couple doesn't want to be separated, and that's where we come in to help support that loved one. If the loved one's a spouse or an adult child, whoever is the primary caregiver, we come alongside to support family.
Okay, let's talk about some of the things that you do. I know you're very hands-on yourself, so what are some of the things that you do to offer support?
Everything that you need to do to get through day-to-day life. So cooking is a huge one, cooking meals that people, their favorite homemade meals.
Okay.
And getting the food into the house, so going grocery shopping, running errands, driving to doctor's appointments perhaps, and then everything in the house like cleaning, laundry, all the day-to-day inside the house. And then there's the whole personal care component as well. If someone needs help with getting dressed or combing hair, having a bath, whatever personal care needs are there as well.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because this is something, we talked about it earlier with Anne-Marie's husband, that she said people were willing to help but sometimes went too overboard with it. So how do you find that balance? Because you are dealing, of course, with people, sometimes vulnerable people. So how do
Very
you
much
strike
so.
that balance and make sure you are, acting as you should, not overstepping, but there and lending a hand when you're needed?
Yes, the role is, our goal rather, is to help clients do as much as possible on their own.
Okay.
Sometimes it means that our role is cueing rather than doing for. So we aim not to just step into somebody's home and take over. We're there to come alongside and support. So that might mean cueing, it might mean setting something up for a client and helping them come along and complete. Cooking, for example, the safety concern might be turning the stove off. Well, we can be there to be sure the stove gets turned off, the oven's turned off, but help the client cook their own meal so they have that pride of ownership at the end of having created something.
I imagine too, having an ear or a warm embrace, as you're called,
Yes.
is so beneficial too, right? Having someone to talk to and converse with. Is that something that you're finding with the people who you work with? Just being able to have the companionship and the social aspect of it.
Definitely, that's a huge component of what we provide, and that's why we named the company Warm Embrace. The focus is on the client first. It's not about the house or the home. That everything comes along after that. If you focus on the client first, you can be rest assured that all the household things get done, but making that personal connection is key, and most of our clients refer to our caregivers as their friend.
Aw, okay.
Yeah.
And you refer to them as your other grandma or grandpa, perhaps?
Exactly.
Okay, going
Hugs
back to
every time.
Aw.
There's always the warm embrace. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Chloe, you're going to stay with us for one more segment in studio. We are going to talk about cognitive therapy, so stay tuned for that. Chloe's going to explain to us what that is all about. We are still talking about Alzheimer's Awareness Month. We're talking about dementia. We are saying, if you want to get involved, question or comment, you can at Talk Local WR, talklocal@rogers.com. Need to take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back. Thanks for watching. It's Alzheimer's Awareness Month, and that's what we're talking about. You can get involved. Question or comment, signs, symptoms. Do you know them now? Hopefully you do. We've had our 101 Alzheimer's and Dementia at Talk Local WR, talklocal@rogers.com. Chloe Hamilton still in studio with us, and we are going to talk about cognitive therapy, which is something that's practiced at Warm Embrace. So tell us, what is cognitive therapy?
We provide a program called the Ashby Memory Method, and the idea behind the program is to help clients who are already affected by Alzheimer's or dementia. And what we do is we stimulate the good active portion of the brain to compensate for the area that's being affected by illness.
Okay. So how do you do this?
So what we're doing is working with different types of cognition. So it's certainly about memory, such as short-term memory, but it's about a lot more than just memory alone. It's also about different types of thinking. So about being able to find your way, being able to problem solve and reason, understanding the sequence of events, so the order of events and how to do something in the right order, all the different types of thinking that go into day-to-day living.
Okay, as we can see on the screen, there's cards there, I think, with letters or words. Can you tell us how is that working right now?
So you're seeing examples of a session in, a session of the Ashby Memory Method with one of our facilitators, and we work one-on-one with the client. So first you have to figure out which part of the brain seems to be most effective, which type of reasoning do we want to focus on, and then use fun ways to get at that. So you saw cards, now you're seeing flashcards, we use games, we use paper copy, we use an iPad, so a lot of different mediums in order to get at the root cause, but it has to be fun and interesting.
Yeah, I like that. And the one-on-one approach is beneficial too, right? Because it's sometimes easier to do things when it's just one-on-one rather in front of a group or a peer or something like that, right?
Absolutely. In a group setting, you always get that one person who does all the talking, right?
Yeah.
And then that one person is gaining benefit, but the other people are not. So one-on-one allows us to match the individual where they're at. So it's not a canned program that gets forced on somebody. It's matching where that person is, focusing on the things that they enjoy, because you can always find another way to get at that root cause. So if they don't like one strategy, try another.
Okay, and how did you come to practice this? What are some of the benefits again? And who's qualified at Warm Embrace to do these one-on-one sessions?
So the Ashby Memory Method is based out of Calgary. It's actually Canadian material, which is so
Okay,
nice to have
yeah.
Canadian material to
So
work
it's got
with.
maple leaves and beavers on the card. Is what
There
you're
you
saying?
go, there you
Beavers.
go. And so it is a very specialized program. People have to be certified in the
Okay.
training in order to do the sessions. And we do see incredible results. It's so encouraging. And what we see in our clients is not only a change and improvement in their functioning ability level, but also in their self-esteem, their motivation, how they feel about themselves. And as we heard earlier in the show, sometimes people feel that they get this scary, overwhelming diagnosis, and they're sent home just to wait for things to get worse. And what this program does is reassure people that this is just the bend in the road, and we're going to help you get around that bend in the road and function as well as possible, and that this isn't just the end.
And you were talking as well, or we were talking before, about that symptoms can actually be stalled, slowed down with therapies like this. So how does that work? Just by strengthening the brain? And is this something, do you need to do this every day, every week? The more the better, or?
Yeah, so it's different for different clients
Okay.
depending on how much they can handle, but on average it's 1 hour at a time, twice a week
Okay.
that we work with the clients.
Okay.
And the goal is that we're transferring it to day-to-day activities. So it has to be applicable to their daily lives, and the overall goal is to help them remain independent even longer. So we've had clients that have been able to stay in a home setting for an extra couple of years rather than the need for long-term care earlier.
What are some of the things you hear from clients when they do go through this therapy, or they work with you, or in that case you just said they get to stay home for longer, wherever home may be?
Wherever home may
Yeah.
be for them. One of the biggest things would be that they're still engaging with family and with friends. Often we see with someone who has dementia, they end up becoming reclusive, so that they shy away because they don't know how to engage the same way. They have a hard time with conversation, with social settings, even with their own family members. And the number one thing we're hearing from family is that their loved one is still active and engaged with them, and is more interested in going out to other activities and maintaining that active lifestyle that one of our other guests talked about. But the loved one has to be willing to go out and do these things, and this program helps them to do that.
Yeah, and it is important, I think, to have the family support and family involvement. Do you
Yes.
do you interact with the families? Do you talk to them? Are there sit-down meetings, or do you kind of keep them in the loop as to what's happening with one of their loved family members?
Absolutely. Family's a huge component. Sometimes the families are the best able to give us the accurate information to work with, to know which areas we should really focus on for support. And we're constantly in touch with families and clients directly, providing feedback with how they're doing, so we can graph and chart their success. And that is so encouraging for a client to see, here's where you started and here's where you've grown to now. And that does a lot for self-esteem.
We're talking, as you know, about Alzheimer's Awareness Month, and we've had the 101, we've had the advocates. Obviously, you are very passionate about this. We've had the cutting edge research. Is this something that people are more likely now to talk about in your experience? And of course, not just on the show on TV, because we know people like Anne-Marie, they will talk about it. But in general, are your clients more comfortable with opening up and talking to their families and their friends, or is it still something that maybe is a little bit closed in and it's difficult for them to talk about?
I would say it's a very personal journey, and that we see a whole spectrum. We see people that keep things very, very quiet. We have others that are wonderful support advocates out in the community. So we see a huge spectrum. Overall, I'd say people are more aware of what Alzheimer's and dementia would be in the first place. Even 10, 15 years ago, you could throw those terms around and people weren't always sure what that meant. So there's increasing awareness, and that's hugely important, so that people who are affected feel that they are able to reach out.
Okay, and it's important for people like you and our other guests to come on the show and share these experiences and these stories with us. So thank you so much. Anything else people should know? You have a website as well for more information. Where can people go?
Yes, we do. It's warmembrace.ca.
Okay, and it's a family affair, right?
That's right, mother and daughters.
You, your mom, and your sister too.
Yes.
All right, excellent. Chloe, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you to all our guests today. It was a great show, informative. I think we covered it all off. So if you have any other questions or comments, we're always on Twitter. You can get involved, or you can even pose a question later, and I'll go to one of our experts for an answer for you. We're on Twitter at TalkLocalWR, TalkLocal@Rogers.com. Alzheimer's Awareness Month is January. Happy we could talk about it, maybe break down some of the myths that exist and get that Alzheimer's Dementia 101. So thank you for watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.